Hi there and welcome back to another video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matthias and I'm an underwater cinematographer and filmmaker based here in Zurich, Switzerland. Now, since I still have a lot of footage left over from my recent trip to Egypt, I thought we can talk today about the best possible way to scuba dive. Coming up. Thanks for tuning in again, guys, to this video today. Now, as mentioned before, I want to talk about what I perceive to be the best possible way to go scuba diving when you're vacationing. Now, generally speaking, there's two different ways that you can go scuba diving. You can either base yourself in a hotel, in a dive resort, and do all your diving from the dive center that is located in or near to the resort. Or the other option is to go on what we call a liveaboard. So instead of staying at a resort, you're now staying on a boat for a couple of days, for a week, maybe even 2 weeks. So the boat is basically your home for the entire time that you spend on there. You live on the boat, you sleep on the boat, you dive from that one boat. And that makes things, in my opinion, a lot more convenient and a lot easier. So as you might have guessed it, I am a big fan of diving off liveaboards, and I think that it is the best possible way to enjoy a pure scuba diving vacation when it comes down to being able to make as many dives as possible in a short amount of time. So I've picked out 5 reasons why I think that scuba diving from a liveaboard is better than diving land-based. Reason number 1 is that you can reach areas that are a lot more remote when you're going on a liveaboard rather than staying in one specific place and diving the dive sites around that place. With a liveaboard, you can actually cover a much larger distance, and while you're not diving, while you're taking your surface intervals or while you're sleeping during the night, the liveaboard can change its location, and therefore you're able to cover a much larger area, and you're able to go into areas, isolated areas, that you would not be able to reach if not being on a liveaboard. So I don't want to say that the diving from a liveaboard is always better, but you do get to more exclusive locations if you go on a liveaboard compared to if you're diving land-based. Reason number 2, and that's one of my favorite reasons, is that once you get onto that liveaboard at the beginning of your week or your 2-week trip, you set up your equipment on a bench and it stays set up there throughout the entire trip. So you don't have to set up your equipment, take it apart, set it up again, take it apart again after every single dive. You only have to do this once, and then in between the dives you basically just take off your first stage so that the crew can refill your tanks and you're good to go again for the next dive. So that makes things a lot easier, saves you a lot of time during the dives, gives you more time to spend doing what you like doing during your surface intervals, and just makes the whole diving experience, in my opinion, a lot more comfortable and enjoyable. Reason number 3 why I prefer being on liveaboards is a simple one. It's the amount of dives that you can get in throughout a certain period. Now, if we look at typical liveaboards, they will offer anywhere between 3 to 5 dives a day. Now, if you would want to try to do a similar amount of dives while you're diving land-based, this might prove to be very challenging and difficult. A big advantage of being on a liveaboard is that the liveaboard can change locations in between dives and while you're doing your surface intervals. So those times of you being on the surface, having to wait before you can get back in the water anyways, they're used wisely to change locations and to get you to the next spot, and therefore they can actually offer more dives per day. I'm not saying that it's not possible to do 4 or 5 dives when you're diving land-based, but you probably won't be able to dive 5 different dive sites in a single day, which is possible if you're diving off a liveaboard. Reason number 4 on my list is that most liveaboards, as far as I know, all liveaboards operate with an all-inclusive concept. That means that there is a general price for 1 week that you're staying on the boat, for example, and that includes obviously your accommodation, your meals, your drinks, all your diving expenses. Everything is covered in that price. There might be some little additions like national park fees and stuff like that, but generally speaking, you pay one price and everything is covered in that week. Whenever I'm on a scuba diving vacation, I find it incredibly comfortable not to have to worry about where I spend my money, but to know that I've paid for everything up front, and then I can just enjoy the week or the 2 weeks that I'm spending on the boat, scuba diving and relaxing. And last but not least, reason number 5 on my list is that I find it easier to make friends when being on a liveaboard. Now, generally speaking, divers are a very open breed of people. So even if you're diving land-based from somewhere and you meet someone in the dive center, it's quite likely that you end up talking to them or maybe even end up being friends. But on a liveaboard it's slightly different because there's not so much space on a liveaboard, and you do spend a lot more time together. It's normally a smaller group. It's normally somewhere between 16 to maybe 20, 22 people that stay together on a boat, obviously depending on the size of the boat. But then with those people you do spend a quite intense time during the time that you spend on the boat. So you get to know each other a lot better. And obviously not every one of the guests on the boat will be to your taste, and you won't get along with everyone in the same way. But if there's someone on the boat that is like-minded, there's a much bigger chance of you actually connecting with that person and staying in touch even after you leave the liveaboard and return back home. And there you go, guys. Those were my 5 reasons why I enjoy scuba diving off a liveaboard better than land-based in a scuba diving resort. I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope you got something out of it, learned something, got some new insights. If that's the case, please don't forget to hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me, and also consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this coming up in the future. We'll be talking about filmmaking, traveling, and obviously underwater cinematography. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next week.